Birmingham, Alabama, a city steeped in history, a city known for its vibrant culture and resilient spirit. But on a warm Saturday night, the heart of this southern city was pierced by a tragedy that would forever scar its soul. The sound of gunfire ripped through the air, transforming a night of laughter and music into a scene of unimaginable horror. 5 Points South, a bustling entertainment district known for its lively bars and restaurants, became a nightmare. It was supposed to be a night of celebration, a night for friends to gather, for music to fill the air, for life to be lived to the fullest. But in an instant, everything changed. The deafening crackle of gunfire echoed through the streets, sending shockwaves through the heart of the city. The vibrant tapestry of life in 5 Points South was ripped apart, leaving behind a trail of blood and shattered dreams. The laughter was silenced, replaced by the piercing cries of the wounded and the horrified screams of witnesses. The scent of gunpowder mingled with the warm night air, a grim reminder of the violence that had just unfolded. The first shots rang out just after 1:30 a.m., sending a collective shiver down the spines of those who heard them. Panic surged through the crowd as the realization dawned. This was no firecracker, no car backfiring. This was the unmistakable sound of gunfire. People scrambled for cover, diving behind cars, ducking into doorways, anything to escape the rain of bullets. The streets, once teeming with life, were now transformed into a chaotic scene of fear and desperation. Bodies lay scattered on the pavement, some still, others writhing in pain. The initial moments were a blur of confusion and terror. Witnesses later described a scene of pure chaos, with people running in every direction, desperate to escape the carnage. The air was thick with the smell of gunpowder, the ground littered with shell casings. As the echo of the last shot faded into the night, a chilling silence descended upon 5 Points South. The silence was shattered only by the anguished cries of the wounded and the frantic pleas for help. The early morning light painted a grim picture of the horrors that had unfolded just hours before. The streets of 5 Points South, once vibrant and lively, were now eerily quiet, the remnants of the previous night's tragedy still visible. 4 lives were lost that night. 4 souls, each with their own stories, their own dreams, their own loved ones, were extinguished in a senseless act of violence. 18 others were injured, some critically, their lives forever altered by the events of that night. As the sun rose over Birmingham, the city awoke to the devastating news. Shock and disbelief rippled through the community, leaving a city in mourning. The names of the victims, once unknown to most, became etched in the collective memory of Birmingham, a solemn reminder of the human cost of gun violence. The families and friends of the victims were left to grapple with the unimaginable pain of their loss. The sudden and senseless nature of their loved ones' deaths only deepened their grief, leaving them with more questions than answers. Section 4. The investigation begins, piecing together the fragments of a nightmare. In the aftermath of the shooting, a massive investigation was launched. Law enforcement officials descended upon 5 Points South, determined to piece together the events that led to the tragedy and bring the perpetrators to justice. The crime scene, spread out over several blocks, was meticulously processed. Every shell casing, every drop of blood, every piece of evidence was carefully collected and analyzed. Detectives worked tirelessly, interviewing witnesses, reviewing surveillance footage, and chasing down every lead. The investigation quickly revealed the chilling reality of the situation. This was not a random act of violence, but a targeted attack. The gunmen, their identities still unknown, had opened fire on a specific group of people standing outside a popular bar. The motive behind the shooting remained a mystery, a puzzle that investigators were determined to solve. Was it gang-related? Was it a personal dispute? Or was it something else entirely? Every possible scenario was explored as the investigation intensified. Section 5. Community response, unity, resilience, and a demand for change. In the wake of the tragedy, the Birmingham community responded with an outpouring of grief, compassion, and a steely determination to prevent such a horrific event from ever happening again. Vigils were held, memorials were erected, and the city came together to mourn the loss of innocent lives. But amidst the grief and sorrow, there was also a growing sense of anger and frustration. The community demanded answers, they demanded justice, and they demanded change. This was not the first time gun violence had claimed lives in Birmingham, and many feared it wouldn't be the last. The shooting reignited the debate about gun control, with many calling for stricter laws and regulations to prevent such tragedies from occurring in the future. Others focused on the need for greater investment in mental health resources and community-based programs aimed at addressing the root causes of violence. Throughout it all, the resilience of the Birmingham community shone through. In the face of unimaginable tragedy, they came together, offering support to the victims' families, demanding change, and vowing to honor the memory of those lost by working to prevent future tragedies.